What's up, everybody? How's it going today? Let me know if you can hear me. Again, still getting used to this, so just comment in the chat if you can hear me, see me, and everything's all good. I don't know how long the delay is between what I see and what you guys, or what I do and what you guys see, rather. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you see me okay? Hey, we got one person. What's up, Tyler? All right, so I'm just going to get into it, I guess, um, and go through sort of like my daily process, as well as some stuff that I'm working on, and and then we'll look at some potential picks for tonight. And then, like, obviously, if you guys have questions along the way, let me know in the chat. Sound good? So the first thing I do every day is I'll just take a look at the games. Um, Usually on my phone, I'll pull up Natural Stat Trick and see if there's any like postponements. So, for instance, tonight a couple games are postponed due to COVID, and then get a feel for the goalies, and then I'll hop on the computer, and before I look at odds or anything like that, I'll usually just go and I'll update my power ratings. So I'll switch over to this view, and I've already updated it for today. But essentially, this is just a Python script that I've written, and it builds the power ratings for me. Again, I'm not using this as much in my betting models, but I like to know sort of where teams stand and if there are any big movements day to day. So you can see I've run it for today, and this is the output here. So the model really likes Montreal, or as for the rankings, and this is as of all games up to and including yesterday. It's got Montreal as first, followed by Colorado. Carolina's jumped up. They haven't played that many games, but I think they're like 5-1 now or something like that. Boston, go down the list. It seems reasonable, and then obviously like you have your awful teams like Ottawa, Detroit. So there's not really too many surprises other than like Winnipeg and Vegas. They seem a little bit low as to where we've come to expect them, anyways. But I think that as we get more stats and more things progress, they will move up. The other interesting thing is the first couple days of the season, it had everyone just bunched together in their division, and that's sort of like a unique thing this year, right? Because everyone's only playing within their division. So if you have, like, for instance, Ottawa. If Ottawa ends up beating someone in their division, in the Canadian division or whatever, you're probably going to see them jump up quite a bit overnight, or one of those teams like drastically fall down, just because they're only playing the same six teams, right? So there's just the swings are going to be a lot more drastic unless it's two teams that are fairly close playing each other. So this is what I do, and then I don't post this on Twitter every day, but I'll post it either once a week or a couple times a week, just for interest sake. People like this, and this is just a fancier version of how to build your own power rating. So the video I did, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. It's here on YouTube, and I built it in Google Sheets, or you can build it in Excel. It's very similar to that. This is just for me, it's a lot quicker and it's a little bit more robust, but it's taking the same principles. And then so once I have a look at that, I'll usually go and I'll update my database, my stats database. And that I do in my NHL model here, which essentially, and I've already done it for today, but I can show you if I switch over. And so right now, I'm actually, as we speak right now, I'm running a game by game player pool. So if I switch over to this, should be able to see it. There we go. So this is just my MySQL. It's just a database, and so I built a couple tables. So I have player data, which is currently, like, I have something running in the background right now, and it's scraping all player base data for the last 10 or 11 years. So you can see it's running here. If we fetch this, that updates. So it's got right now 83,000 rows, and that's only a couple seasons worth because it's going game by game. So what I usually do daily is the same thing, but for my team-based model. So if I just switch over, you can see here, I have team-based, and again, this is for the past like 10 years, and I'll update this every day to make sure I get last night's scores, and I already have that. So if I switch back to this, nope. Bear with me, guys. I'm still I don't know what I'm doing here. No, that's not what I want. Hold on a sec. Sorry, guys. New to live streaming, and it's a lot different than just editing the videos. So if I switch back to this model, you can see I've already run it for today. So I run this every day, and then I just print out a tail to make sure. Actually, tail. To make sure that I have last night's games in here, and you can see I do. And then from there, and again, I've already done this, so I'm not going to rerun it, but I run this every day, and this prints out my updated model, essentially. And then I take the outputs from this, and again, just basically for this streaming and just for like helping walk people through, I dump it into this model here, but it's all of the legwork is done in Python itself. And then I get it from here, and I will start looking at my picks. So, and again, that feeds in. I do a daily import type thing, but that's sort of my process. And then I'll go through and I'll look at the odds and I'll make some picks. So I'm not going to do the picks just yet, but that's sort of what I do. So I'm interested to hear like what you guys do. If you're watching live, let me know in the comments, or leave a comment down below. What's your daily like sports betting routine? That's sort of the meat and potatoes of mine, and then I'll spend some time working on stuff that's not live. So like right now, I'm running this. I'm scraping player-based data, so I try and like commit an hour or a couple hours every day to building something for the future. And so because we're in hockey season, if I can figure out how to do the player-based stuff for hockey, then I'm going to be able to transfer that to MLB when the time comes. And that's sort of my thinking there. But let's look at some recent results, I guess, from the model. So we started out, it was a bit of a rocky start. Here we are. It was a bit of a rocky start the first couple days, which is to be expected. If I just scroll over, and let me actually move myself over here for a sec. But yeah, to be expected the first couple days with not a lot of data and stuff like that. So you could see like kind of losing money, and then things have started to turn around. We've got more and more data, and so we've had some nice profitable days. And again, I haven't changed my process or anything like that. It's just relying on more data coming in, and I'm letting the model do the work. You can see last night we had a bet, a minor bet, and we had a loss. And that was just, we took, move myself back again. We took a flyer on the Canucks, and the model actually had them as losing. So didn't think they were going to win or anything like that, but we had their percent chance of winning higher than what the implied probabilities were by the sportsbook. So I think the sportsbook had, based on the odds, 2.41, so that's like roughly 40% to win, and we had it closer to like 48 or 49%. So still losing, but there was good value there. So we took a flyer and they got crushed. It happens. It's not the end of the world. But again, the last couple days have been decent for us. We've had some larger wins, so that's the nice thing. Like if you look, like our record is technically a losing record, right? Like we're 14-15. Our win percentage is 48%, but our average odds are 2.35. And like I said last week, if we see what that equates to, it's roughly 42.5%, or 43%, we'll call it. So we're still like 5% above, which is pretty solid. Which is why you're seeing we have a positive bankroll, and that we've been winning, even though our record is 48%. And then in addition to that, you'll notice that these are different betting stakes. So I'm not betting, $50 on everything, $100 on everything. This is based on the Kelly criterion. And so we're winning our larger bets, especially the last few days. Like this is a reasonable size for our bankroll, 75 against 2,500 to start. And we're winning that bet, and we're losing the smaller ones, which is fine. And again, as we go on, as our bankroll grows and our model grows more confident, these bets will get larger relative to our... the percentage will stay the same relative to our bankroll, but because our bankroll is growing, these bets from a dollar value will also grow. Do you ever have instances when your gut feeling on a game goes against what the model is saying? The model's giving you a great value pick, but you disagree. Do you make the bet or skip? Yeah, Tyler, I get those gut feelings, and I try. It's a fine line. For instance, like last night, I didn't have a good feeling about Vancouver, and looking at some other bets recently, I'll get that in my gut feeling, especially with hockey, because I watch hockey very closely. I follow it very closely. And sometimes some things just don't add up, especially earlier on in the season. And I get very hesitant, but I try to remember that the model is just looking at the numbers, and it removes that bias. So if I have a bias, it's taking that bias out of that, and I'll try and go with that. It's easier said than done, though, and I've definitely sometimes passed on a bet and they've ended up winning, and sometimes a bet's been sort of on the line, and I've passed on it and it ended up being a good pass. And the inverse is true as well, where sometimes the model's like, no, I don't really like this, it's borderline, probably shouldn't play it, and I'll say, well, I really like it, so I'm going to play it. and should have just listened to the model type thing. So it goes both ways. Andre, that's good to hear. What sports do you bet? All right, so that's basically the process for the day. So if we want to, we can get into looking at some bets. So let me pull this up again and switch over here. There we go. Nice, Andre. Good stuff. All right, so I'm just pulling up Pinnacle and my model. So I'm working off one monitor and I got too much stuff going on, so I'm going to be jumping back and forth. So I'll keep my eye on the chat. If I miss something, it's not intentional. But actually, maybe I can do this. Okay, that should work. All right, I think I figured this out. So let's just go through the picks. So again, there's a couple games canceled today due to COVID, so those won't be in here. But we're just gonna go down the list. So we have Dallas and Columbus, and so you can see like we have Dallas at like 61%, and the odds. So Vegas has this basic, or Pinnacle, I should say, has this as basically as a pick'em. So because of this, the model likes Dallas for a decent chunk. Columbus isn't that great a team. I'm just grabbing my phone because I think I saw Dallas is starting their backup, I want to say. Jake Odinger. So his numbers are okay. I think he's only played one game or something like that. So that might be something to take into consideration. But again, I'm building in sort of team-based goaltending into the model, so it should sort of factor in both goalies. So I think this is a relatively reasonable size bet, especially compared to our overall bankroll, like $2,500. I set this at $1,000 because if you watched last time, earlier on in the season, I just like to make smaller bets. Like if we set this to 25, so this would be like a $100 bet, which is fine. But early on in the season, especially when I'm still blending data from previous seasons, I'll just set this lower than my actual bankroll. So I'm not betting too much. So I think this is going to be a good bet for us, though. So we will add that to the queue. And go down the list. So we got Vancouver against Montreal, and Vancouver's just been getting absolutely dummied by Montreal lately. So yeah, Montreal, we have 63% to win, but the odds seem reasonable, or fairly in line. So this is always a decent sign. This is something I look forward to. Like sometimes, especially early on in last Thursday when I did the stream, we saw a couple of the bets got a little bit unruly. Obviously, we want our odds to be different than the bookmaker odds because that's where we find value and how we make our bets. But it's comforting to see this, especially if you think like a team's gonna blow out another team and you're probably not gonna want to bet on it, to see that the odds are fairly in line with the bookmaker. That's a comforting fact because it means that you're gathering data in a way that it makes sense for the most part. And then when you do have those outliers, it can potentially be profitable for you. That's the hope anyways. So I would prefer to see this than seeing, Vancouver at 74% to win or something like that. If that were the case, I'd be a little bit worried. But I digress. Moving on. So there's some decent matchups tonight too. I feel like a lot of these games, just like looking at them, for the most part this year, a lot of the games have been high scoring, but like I see like Arizona can't score goals. St. Louis, they can score, but Arizona's got unreal goaltending. I'm not betting totals, but if this total gets to like 6 or something like that, I don't have it open for totals right now. What's it at right now? Yeah, so the totals, the under 5.5 right now is at like 1.7. So, Pinnacle and Vegas are obviously projecting this to be a very low scoring game, which doesn't surprise me. It seems like, I don't know if you guys have been watching, like it seems like every game is just an absolute blowout. Like they'll score 11 goals or it's 2-1. There hasn't been like a lot of middle ground, at least that I've seen, and that's just purely anecdotal. Just watching, like it seems like even games going into the third period are 2-1 and they end up 5-4. It's nuts, and that's to be expected, like early season hockey. But I think with how this season shaped up, it's just been drastically like exacerbated. I don't know. I find it interesting. It's entertaining as hell, but it's annoying. Like the amount of 2-goal leads that have been blown this season seems very high as well. We've been on the right and the wrong side of it, but it seems like overly high for a very small sample size. I don't know, but anyways, back to this. So these odds are basically the same thing, 1.617. So no bet here. And you can see, so St. Louis is like it's a decent value, but it doesn't quite pass our threshold. So our threshold is $3 adjusted EV, and right now the EV on this bet would only be $2.35. So this would be a pass, but this would be like one of those marginal spots if you really felt like in your gut. So Tyler, to go back to your question, if you really felt like, oh, I love St. Louis in this spot, I don't know why you would at these odds, but this could be a spot you might look and say, okay, well, it's pretty close to our threshold, so maybe I'll bet it. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. I don't love St. Louis in the spot, and I'm certainly not going to break my protocol for a 1.6 bet. This model doesn't factor in player data yet, right? Wondering what your thoughts are going to be for line of plays tomorrow. So this one, I mean, all models factor in player data. It's just not an individual player. So, in that case, I mean, they might get a bump. They might not. It's tough to say. He hasn't played a game since like the first or second night of the season. So, if that's good or bad, it's tough to say. I do have a player-based model that I could add him in and see, but again, there's not a lot of data on him from this year, so I'm not going to worry too much for a one-off like that. It just even if I was running player-based, he's only played one game this year, so the data set you have, unless you're going back to years past where he's playing with completely different players in different situations on a different team, it's not really worth it, in my opinion, right? Like I might look at the line and if it's close in that situation and I think that he gives a bump, then maybe I would consider betting them, but it's not something I'm gonna worry about too much. I'm the player based side of things for me is more for like for instance, if Connor McDavid's out of the lineup for Edmonton, then I need to make a big adjustment. That impacts them. But getting a player back, and I understand Laine is a good player, and this isn't a slight against him, but getting a player back who hasn't played all season on a new team, it's going to be really tough to predict what their impact is. Whereas a star player coming out of the lineup who has been in the lineup, that's a lot easier to predict the drop in impact, potentially. So I hope that makes sense. What are we doing? Oh yeah, Calgary, Winnipeg. I don't know. It seems like I don't know where you guys are. I'm in Canada though, and it honestly, it feels like there's just two separate leagues going on right now. it's been pretty fascinating, and like there's a huge divide in between the good teams and the bad teams, more so than in years past, because I think if you're a bad team and you get stuck in a division with 3 or 4 good teams, you just get absolutely beat up on every night. Like Ottawa, I think they've won 1 game out of, I think they've played 10 games now, and like they're just, I don't know who they're going to beat in this Canadian division. Like it's I don't know. They might win in 56 games. They might win 10 games. You know, it's crazy. So this Calgary Winnipeg series is interesting to me too. These teams, they're very similar teams, and you can see the model. It's basically got it at a coin flip. So I missed it last night. I just missed it last night, but it was in the third period. Calgary was down 1, and it had you could buy Calgary for like 3.8 or something like that. Yeah, Eric, that was maybe on the high side. I don't disagree with you. I think they're on a 5-game pace or something like that right now. So, but yeah, my point is it's going to be extremely tough for them to win a lot of games. But yeah, this Calgary Winnipeg series is interesting. Like last night, and this is where you guys can potentially profit too. The yeah, Eric, I don't disagree with you there. I got burned a couple times, like good prices against the Leafs, and they just wouldn't lose. And like the Montreal Vancouver series has just been a disaster. And every other series, like it's either or it ends up a pick 'em like this, or it's just there's no value because someone's playing Ottawa and they're paying 1.4 type thing, right? So that's, you definitely got to pick and choose your spots, and it becomes really important not to try and force things just because you're looking for a bet. But that sort of leads me to what I was talking about. You can potentially find some good value in live lines. So like last night in the third period, it was either, I think Calgary was down 1, but you could buy them for like 3.8. And yeah, they ended up coming back and winning in a shootout. But I think like even there, the likelihood of them being able to tie it up and at least make it worth your while, I think they tie it up, and even if they lose, you're still going to be making money at that kind of odds when teams are so closely matched and they're only down a goal. Like I said last week, I'll look if there's a favorite and I don't like the price on them ahead of the game. If they get down early, I'll like buy 1 goal early type thing. I'll sometimes make a bet on them if the price is right. So little things like that you can do to sort of offset the crappy odds we're being given, because some of these games are just such a mismatch night in and night out. But it is tougher to navigate than in seasons past, for sure. It's still better than the bubble was, though. The bubble was horrendous. I hated it. We were profitable in the bubble. It sucked, though. Hurricanes and Blackhawks. So here's another one. Like, there's not much there. Like Chicago as a big dog, they're right on the threshold, but that would be one I'm probably laying off. Like, we still have them projected to lose. So this is similar to like Vancouver last night, right? Like, we still think they're going to lose. We just think they're going to lose less often than the line suggests they will. And so I've run some back testing from years past, and I actually found by not betting these situations I've been more profitable. But the threshold's been like 48.5% or something like that, where if they're a dog at 48.5 and they're being paid or the line, you can get it like they're 40 to 42, then it was profitable. But like these ones where it's, sub 46 and it's paying like 39, it's still not going to be profitable in the long run, I don't think. So this is, even though my model doesn't like this, in years past this might be one that I would consider, but I would just pass these altogether this year. Okay, so this looks like it's going to be a bet here. So we have. I'm always scared about this when it's Colorado. So Tyler, this goes back to the gut feel thing too. People get scared of Colorado. I get scared of Colorado. However, they haven't actually been that great this year. Like, they can score, but their goaltending is not good. And I don't know for sure, but McKinnon left the game the other night on Sunday night. So he might not even be playing today. But regardless of that, Minnesota is not as bad as people think. They're a pretty stingy team, but they have some guys who can score. So I think in this case, I would say this is a good bet, and I'd be comfortable adding it to the queue for today. And then this one, I'm not even really gonna look at this one, but we have Ottawa and Edmonton, and again, I'm not laying that much juice on Edmonton. I'm just not doing it. Could look at the puck line, but again, I don't. First of all, I don't think Edmonton's that great a team. Ottawa's a terrible team, but Edmonton's not that great a team, and I'm not laying that much juice on a bet. It's not worth it to me. Yeah, I thought so, Eric. Thanks. And if we look at most likely scores, obviously we have Edmonton covering the puck line a good amount of the time, but it's just not something I'm super interested in. I'm not going to force it in. But if you wanted to, I mean, what's the puck line paying? If the puck line's positive, I might consider it. But what is it? Hold on. Okay, so it's got Edmonton at 2.12 for the -1.5. So you might consider a regulation or a puck line, but I'm probably just going to hold off on this game. I don't feel that great about it. I'm just checking. Yeah, it's so Hogberg and Koskinen. So I think Hogberg's been better than Murray so far. I don't know what's wrong with Matt. I haven't been a Matt Murray fan for a long time. The over is interesting, Tyler, but you basically got to hope that Ottawa's going to get there, or that Edmonton's going to get there themselves. And right now it's 6.5 at 1.7, so laying a lot of juice on that, or a relatively large amount of juice on the over. So it's something you could look at, but again, I'm not going to force it. I don't bet a lot of totals. This model can do totals. If I pull this out, so it's got this total at 8.1. So it's almost a goal. It's over a goal and a half difference. So potentially, to be honest, if I was going to bet this total, I'd probably just buy up to 7 though, and know that if it lands on 7, we push. But at least I'm not paying the juice. I don't like paying juice. That's just a personal thing. I probably leave some money on the table sometimes. I just don't like paying juice when I can help it. So that's just me though. I need to hide this stuff again though so I can fit everything. There we go. So I don't know. There's some options to get creative. Like I said, Hogberg has been better than Murray. And he's starting. Is that going to make a huge difference? Likely not, but I don't see a lot there unless you're playing the puck line or buying up to 7 on the over. and hoping that McDavid and Draisaitl just go off like they did the other night against them. Which, for that to happen, they apparently need a ton of power plays, though, too, because I think they were... I think McDavid had, like, 1 point even strength or something like that. He had 5 points on the night, but... I don't know, crazy. And then lastly, so we have Anaheim and LA. What do we have here? 2.06, 1.854. So this looks like a bet on LA. Model likes them, and actually, if we go back to the power ratings, where are they? They're like the power ratings have LA surprisingly at a decent spot. Like they're upper half of the league, anyways. And Anaheim way down here in 28th. Anaheim, they're so frustrating because for my money, John Gibson, when he's healthy, he's the best goalie in the league. They just can't put it together to be good enough. Like they have a lot of good defensemen. Cam Fowler is a good defenseman. They have a couple guys who can score. Like some of their younger guys, like Sam Steele, Comtois, they can score. And I've always been a big fan of Getzlaf. He's slow as hell now though, and he's old. But they just, for whatever reason, they're just not good ever. They upset some teams, and Gibson will steal a game because he's used to making 49 saves a night or whatever. But I don't know. So I don't know if LA's for real. I also like that LA's starting Cal Peterson tonight. I think he's pretty underrated, and he's younger and he's looked good from. Other than the one blowout they had, or they got blown out one game, but I think this is a reasonable bet here. So I will add it, and you can see. So like all my bets, I'm making. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games on the slate that I can see. I'm making 3 bets, and my potential risk is not that high. It's just over 10% of whatever this bankroll is, and of my entire bankroll, it's actually much smaller. So I'd be happy with these 3 bets for tonight. Again, there's some stuff that I passed on, and so Tyler, maybe that gets back more into the fuel thing. But it was really I have no doubt that Edmonton's going to win that game. I'm not paying all the juice, and I don't love taking puck lines when I can help it. So that's just my thinking anyways. Obviously people are free to think whatever they want or do whatever they want. But yeah, that's sort of my process and how I go about things on a daily basis. And then obviously, so when the day's done, I will update my bet tracking sheet, and then tomorrow do it all over again. Run the database, and actually while we're here, I could update this. I'm not going to update this now. But like I said, I'm working on something new for some player-based stuff, and just having years and years worth of data is super helpful. But that's that. And the last thing I want to say is I'm doing an experiment, and I've been looking. This is even though I'm using I think there's 25,000 data points or something in this model, comparing it to my old model, which I built only in Excel, using the same methods that I teach everyone in the group. It's coming out with very similar outputs, which is obviously nice to see. The only benefit to doing it this different way is I have more data if I need it. If I want to run some different style models quickly, I can do that. But for what I'm doing, this projects very similarly to the model I built in Excel using just tools you can find there. So if you're interested in learning more how to build models, just be more profitable sports better, whatever, or if you're interested in my picks as well, then sign up to actionbackers.com in the description and use code WELCOME20, and you'll get $20 off your first month. We have a good community. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. We have a Slack community. Guys are in there talking and having lots of fun in there and learning lots. And we have guys who don't bet hockey or baseball. We have guys betting, soccer, football. Some guys, like one of our members came in and he's just been absolutely crushing it. He took sort of what I taught, and his ROI is just through the roof betting football and basketball. It's been really awesome to see. So if you're interested in signing up, click the link below, actionbackers.com, and I'll see you inside.